So I wanted to talk a little bit about safety. And I know you guys are probably like, oh my God, he's the guy that always talks all that political smack. Why is he talking safety? So at my job, um, they already started talking about safety. And it's funny because we get a lot of stuff, to precautionary measures to take at work. Be careful in the parking lot, um, taking care of the sidewalk in front of the store and stuff like that. And I think it's funny because a lot of the stuff doesn't really affect us here in South Texas, but some of the stuff can. And if anything, we should have learned a little bit from the freeze, right? It doesn't get cold enough to freeze here all the time, but it can happen. And one of the things that we should be careful with is when if it either rains and then freezes, or if it freezes, melts, and freezes again, that water causes ice, especially on walkways, which, I'm pretty sure a lot of people found out during the freeze, but we should be careful and be prepared for that kind of stuff. As the weather starts getting colder, I think we should be smart and prepare. And don't be one of these people that panic because they don't have, I hate to say it, but they don't have the intelligence to prepare. So they wait until the last minute. I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'd rather have stuff on hand like cat litter, which works really good on the ice, or having salt to melt the ice. I think one of the worst things that happened during the freeze was all these people panicked when they didn't need to, and it was just ridiculous. All I wanted was a loaf of bread, and you couldn't even find anything because you had all these people buying 12 dozens of eggs. Are you gonna eat them all in one day? Stuff like bread and eggs and milk, it doesn't last forever. Oh, just freeze it. And guess what happens when in a day or two everything goes back to normal? You're stuck with all that frozen milk and bread. So one of the things that it talks about in the safety videos is being prepared. If you're taking a trip, and I think it applies to just in general, you should have stuff ready in your car, like snacks. It says a fully charged phone, but if, let's say, for example, Stephen King, right? Misery. He wrecks and he's stranded in the ditch. Your battery may not last that long if you have a full charged phone. I think you should have like a backup battery for stuff like that. Or if you can afford those contraptions that, the solar chargers, that would, maybe be a good idea. But I think you should have like an emergency kit in your car. You don't necessarily have to save all these things that other people tell you, but just think to yourself, if I was to get stranded on the side of the road and it's cold, what do I want? A blanket, those heat packs for your hands, maybe some snacks, a portable radio to, keep in touch with the weather, or if you can have some kind of walkie-talkie system if you're out in the country to be able to contact other people. Just stuff like that. If it does get cold and it freezes, I think people that are at home or staying at home should be smart and try to stock up on stuff. You buy canned goods, those will last longer than stuff that you freeze. And I'm gonna be a jerk and say, what good does it have you to freeze food if you lose electricity. So me, for example, I have gas, so even if I lose electricity, I still have my gas stove to be able to cook. So having canned goods comes in handy there, and I'd be able to boil water and stuff. I got lucky where during the freeze, I didn't lose anything. I had water, electricity, and gas, so I was cool. But not everybody is that lucky. My friend had to keep charging his phone in the car. He kept complaining about being cold, and even if you're at home, sometimes you're not lucky enough to go somewhere because the roads, like during the freeze, they get so horrible that you can't really travel. And let's say it's not that bad, but it froze in the driveway and your driveway is full of ice. That's where being prepared and having stuff like cat litter or the salt to melt the ice would come in handy. I think you should just be prepared. It's better to be prepared than to panic and just go crazy. Because luckily it still is just me here by myself. But imagine if I would have had a house full of kids or a family to take care of. I would have tried to gone out and try to get some food to feed them, and there's nothing at the store because everybody panicked and acted like fools, buying everything off the shelf. You could barely find hot dogs and hamburger buns. But yeah, I think you should be prepared and not panic. I personally don't like bottled water. I use a filter, and that's the main thing. I try to get that big 5-gallon thing of water because I like to drink alkaline water, but having water just in case, if anything, at least to consume would be a good idea as well. Batteries, some kind of lighter or matches. I actually have lighter and matches, few candles, but I try not to panic. I can't remember when was the last time that I did panic. Probably as a kid. I don't know why I've always had the ability to maintain my cool when it hits the fan. Even in emergency situations, I've always been able to keep a cool head and remain calm. And I think that's what is the main thing that people have to try to do. I think from some of the books that I've read, I think one of the things that you can do is try to think, like right now it's already getting cold. What would happen if all of a sudden it just dropped and everything froze tonight? Would you be prepared? Would you be ready? What will you do? How will you handle the situation? Try to plan out strategies to be prepared instead of just panicking. Panicking is not going to save anybody's life, especially if you're too panicked. You're not thinking rational, and you're not going to make rational choices. So be prepared for the weather change. I was thinking about doing a second safety video on proper way to lift things, but I don't think a lot of people would pay attention anyways. But if you're interested in that, I can try to give you some of the tips that we have learned in our safety videos. But I think the main thing is, and it's funny because the video even says not necessarily just at the store. Think about when you go home, you try to pick up a whole pack, stack of presents that you're gonna transport, and you don't think, and you bend wrong, or you try to lift it wrong, and you could hurt yourself. Especially those of you over 40 know that all it takes is one wrong move and you throw out your back, and that is like a pretty crappy thing to have during the holidays. So especially as the holidays get nearer, think about when you're picking up. Not, it doesn't even have to be something heavy. I've thrown my back out with just lightweight. I mean, I was telling a friend of mine, I don't know how it happened, because I was doing deadlifts and I was okay, and then halfway, all of a sudden, boom, my back just said, no, 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 you did it wrong. But it's just a matter of thinking, and that's what the videos at work teaches, is like, one, think before you lift. You know, position yourself properly, use your legs, not your back, and just think, you know, test the weight before you even try to pick it up, because it may be too heavy. If it's too heavy, don't try to lift it. You're just gonna hurt yourself, and that's gonna just ruin it. You know. So be smart, be cool, and be prepared.